This week on Jerusalem Dateline, CBN News exclusive interview with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence. While world leaders gather in Jerusalem to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And an on-the-ground report from the Nazi death camp. Plus, how one Israeli company is addressing the world's water shortage. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence told CBN News that anti-Semitism is alive and well, even in the halls of the U.S. Congress. Pence was in Jerusalem with more than 40 world leaders to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz at the World Holocaust Forum. CBN's David Brody traveled to Jerusalem to speak with the Vice President, and overlooking the Western Wall and Jerusalem's Old City, they talked about anti-Semitism, the Iranian regime, and why many Christians stand with Israel.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for doing this interview. Great to see you in Jerusalem.
Oh, it's great to see you in Jerusalem, and it's so good to be back in the Holy Land.
The Holocaust, anti-Semitism, let's get right to that. That's why you're here. What was it like for you to be at that commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz? What was going through your mind from a personal standpoint to kind of feel what some of that was like?
Well, for me, it was inspiring to see nearly 50 countries come together. Kings and presidents and prime ministers, all united around the message, never again. 75 years since the liberation of Auschwitz, and yet the stories still tear at our hearts, and they should. What happened in that place, what happened in the Holocaust, was the darkest chapter in human history. 6 million Jews lost their lives to Nazi oppression and tyranny. And it was Allied forces, including 2 million American GIs, that came, liberated the continent. And so for me to be there, to speak about the progress that we've made over the last 75 years, and to do so in a year where Karen and I visited Auschwitz. We walked the grounds. As I said today, it's impossible to walk those grounds without feeling deep emotion and grief. And yet, while Auschwitz was a dark chapter in human history, it also represents a victory and a triumph for freedom, because ultimately we overcame. We defeated the Nazi tyranny, and the world 75 years later understands what happened there, and is resolved, 50 countries resolved to say never again.
And now we see in the present day this rise of anti-Semitism, not just in Europe, but in America. What do you attribute that to specifically? And I'm curious about some of the folks that have spoken out for the BDS movement, if you will, and we've heard some folks call Israel the oppressor here. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, there is a rising tide of vile anti-Semitism that's emerging all around the world. We've seen it result in violence at synagogues in Pittsburgh and in Los Angeles, the loss of life, but we've also seen it manifested in rhetoric. Not only the BDS movement attempting to get people to divest from Israel, thinly veiled anti-Semitism, but even in the halls of Congress. We've heard anti-Semitic rhetoric that has not been roundly and universally condemned as it should be.
Referring to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, people like that who have said.
Well, for people to traffic in anti-Semitic slurs and tropes and not be held to account for that is just unacceptable. But the good news is, and you saw it here at the 75th anniversary of Auschwitz, the world is mobilizing. The American people are aware of it. You look at the recent elections in the United Kingdom, and it was understood to be the Liberal Party's tolerance of latent anti-Semitism was seen as one of the reasons why they lost in a landslide in recent elections. I think the people understand the dangers based on the lessons of 75 years ago, that even allowing anti-Semitic rhetoric, let alone violence, to take place in our society but it requires, constant vigilance. When I was a member of Congress, the only Holocaust survivor to ever serve in Congress, the late Tom Lantos, came to my office, David, and asked me to co-found the Anti-Semitism caucus. I was honored to do that. He wanted to co-found the caucus with an evangelical Christian and conservative, and I was humbled by that. And the truth is that a rejection of anti-Semitic rhetoric or worse should be universal in our society, in our public debate, and will continue to demand that.
Moving to Iran, an enemy of Israel, clearly. We see the protesters in the street. There's a yearning for freedom there. Is the Islamic Republic of Iran in danger of potentially falling after 40 plus years now?
I think it's yet to be seen. But President Trump has made it clear through social media and public statements that we're with the people of Iran. We want them to have a brighter future. We want them to have an opportunity to live free of the oppression of the Ayatollahs in Tehran. And our hope is that as we continue to see popular movements across Iran, that there will be a movement. But let me be clear, our objective is not regime change. We want the regime to change. President Trump, by taking the action he took to take Soleimani off the battlefield, President Trump has made it clear that we're not going to tolerate violence by Iran or violence by Iranian surrogates and the militias in Iraq. When one American life was lost, this president ordered airstrikes on 5 Iranian-backed militia bases in northern Iraq. We've sent a very clear message that we're not tolerating their propagation of violence and terrorism across the region. They responded. Missiles were fired, but thanks to the professionalism of our military on the ground, there were no casualties, no serious injuries, and Iran continues to stand down from that confrontation. So look, the president's made it clear we're prepared to make peace with whoever wants to make peace with us, but the tyrants in Tehran should know that this president, this administration will never allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. We will continue to stand strong with Israel for her security and her prosperity, and we will continue to stand up to Iran as they propagate anti-Semitism and propagate terrorist violence across the region.
For folks that don't understand why evangelical Christians support Israel so much, I mean, he came to you. There was a reason for that. Can you educate folks as to why evangelical Christians have a love for Israel, have a love for the Jewish people? I'd be curious to get your response to that, especially here in Jerusalem, the Holy City.
Well, to be in the Holy Land is always so moving to me, to be just a block away from stones where Jesus walked, to travel to the ruins of Capernaum, to go where the Sermon on the Mount was presented, all make for an incredible connection. They were the anthems of our youth, the lessons of Sunday school. But as you know, David, it's deeper than that. For Christian believers, we're grounded in the conviction that we're called to bless Israel. The Bible tells us that those who bless her will be blessed and those who curse her will be cursed. And really, since before the American founding, Americans called for the restoration of Israel to the Promised Land. And when Israel was restored in 1948, America was the first nation on earth to recognize the Jewish state of Israel. And we've been with them every step of the way because it's a heart connection. As President Trump said, it's bonds of heart and faith that really connect us. And I think that accounts for why Christians and Jews, tens of millions of Americans, consider Israel, as I do, our most cherished ally.
75 years since the liberation of Auschwitz, why is anti-Semitism on the rise?
Roman soldiers destroy the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Centuries of eyewitnesses say the temple treasures survived. But where are they?
They went from Jerusalem to Rome, Rome to Carthage, Carthage to Byzantium.
Historians are silent about what happened to it next.
CBN Documentaries presents the worldwide release of Treasures of the Second Temple.
So does it still exist today?
A story of mystery.
Where is it?
Calamity.
Most of the victims were butchered.
And destiny.
The possibility to dig is impossible.
Get your copy of Treasures of the Second Temple. Yours for a gift of any amount to CBN Documentaries.
Nigerian Christians in
Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
2 major events commemorated the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Here in Jerusalem, more than 40 world leaders commemorated that milestone. And as CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports from Auschwitz itself, both of these historic gatherings come against the backdrop of rising anti-Semitism.
They called it Remembering the Holocaust, Fighting Anti-Semitism.
The Jewish people have learned the lessons of the Holocaust, always to take seriously the threats of those who seek our destruction, to confront threats when they are small, and above all, even though we deeply, deeply appreciate the great support of our friends, to always have the power to defend ourselves by ourselves.
Resulting in the largest diplomatic event in Israel's history, leaders including Britain's Prince Charles, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier came to Jerusalem to say, never again.
We must be prepared to confront and expose the vile tide of anti-Semitism that is fueling hate and violence all across the world, and we must stand together.
The spirits of evil are emerging in a new guise, presenting their anti-Semitic, racist, authoritarian thinking as an answer for the future, a new solution to the problems of our age. And I wish I could say that we Germans have learned from history once and for all. But I cannot say that when hatred is spreading.
Ahead of the event, a special European delegation visited the site where Nazis perpetrated so much evil and hatred. The leaders brought the delegation here to Auschwitz to emphasize the fact of what happens when anti-Semitism goes unchecked. Born in Poland, former Israeli Chief Rabbi Israel Meir Lau is a Holocaust survivor.
Anti-Semitism is something you can explain, but you cannot find a reason for it. It's against dialogue. It's against logic. It's a spiritual madness.
Before the Red Army liberated the largest Nazi death camp 75 years ago, Nazis murdered an estimated 1.1 million Jews at Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Combating anti-Semitism is not only a question of politics and statements and whatever comes out in the media, but it's an actual fight for our safety in Europe.
Rabbi Shlomo Kovesh said the Jewish people need a plan to fight anti-Semitism and what he called mutations of this virus.
We have to partner with those politicians, opinion leaders, public figures. They are ready to partner with us in our war against anti-Semitism. It's a war of minds, it's a war of ideas, and we need a lot of partners for this war, and we have to look at it as a war.
Rabbi Menachem Margolin made clear their goal must be to put action behind the words, never again.
To really measure the success, we'll need to follow up and see how many of those MEPs will sign and promote the draft legislation we presented yesterday to ensure that children in Europe will get more education, that the trade of Nazi memorabilia will be banned, and the use of any anti-Semitic stereotypes will be banned.
And banning anti-Semitism isn't just good for the Jewish people.
God told Abraham that I will bless whoever blesses you and curse whoever curses you. And we see that throughout our history of human civilization, that whoever persecuted the Jews later on was devastated and destructive.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem and Auschwitz, Poland.
While Israel prepares for threats on its border now, it's also developing the weapons of the future.
Now, for a limited time, you can get 5 of CBN's critically acclaimed documentaries. Experience the rebirth of the modern state of Israel.
The historic bonds between the Jewish people and the land of Israel cannot be broken.
Relive the battle for Jerusalem in the Six-Day War.
Jerusalem is yours, forever.
Discover how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
When people need us, we volunteer and we come and help.
Explore the world of Israeli technological innovation.
We're people of dreams. God gives us dreams. And that's really the roots, I think, of much of our innovation.
And understand the biggest land dispute in history.
Many Palestinian Arabs claim that the Jews stole Arab land. But is that the real story?
This exclusive Israel DVD collection can be yours for a gift of $40 or more. Call now or go online to get your Israel DVD bundle today.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Recently, Israel's military began a major construction project on its northern border. It's the latest effort by the Israeli Defense Forces to protect Israelis from the Iranian-backed terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces brought in heavy equipment along the Lebanese frontier to begin construction of an underground defense system. The system will use sophisticated sensors and classified technology to detect Hezbollah cross-border tunnels and protect Israelis along the northern border. Last year, CBN News got a rare look inside one Hezbollah terror tunnel uncovered by the Israeli Defense Forces. It was built so hundreds of Hezbollah commandos could infiltrate northern Israel. IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus told us then that this massive tunnel, a mile long and 22 stories deep, was nearly operational and posed an imminent danger.
Operational in the sense of Hezbollah actually having the ability to break out and then to run to the nearest Israeli community. There are two communities here nearby, less than 6 minutes running distance from where we are now.
Tunnel warfare expert Daphne Richmond Barak said the value of this type of warfare is priceless for Hezbollah.
Potential reward is a major one if only it succeeds, because it neutralizes the technological advantage of the Israeli army.
But protecting against tunnels is not Israel's only defense. In 2017, it also built a barrier about 15 to 20 feet high along its border to protect against Hezbollah infiltrations.
First of all, it gives us an observation point to see better. On the other hand, it gives us better protection. Today, if a person runs toward the barrier to cross it, he can't run easily. He needs to stop for a moment or two. That gives us enough time to react.
Israel fought Hezbollah in the 2006 Second Lebanon War, and IDF leaders say the next war with Hezbollah is not a question of if, but when. With thousands of soldiers and as many as 150,000 rockets and missiles, Israel has many reasons behind its vigilance. Israel is one of the global leaders in incorporating new technology to the battlefield. The Israel Defense Forces recently announced a breakthrough in the use of laser technology that could change warfare as we know it. The IDF says it's a game changer, laser technology that can transform the 21st century battlefield. These lasers can intercept threats from a variety of sources, including drones, rockets, artillery, mortars, and anti-tank guided missiles. Israel faces threats from terror groups in Gaza that have fired more than 2,600 rockets in the past 2 years, while Hezbollah on its northern border has an estimated 150,000 rockets and missiles. Currently, Israel has a three-pronged anti-missile defense, including the Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Arrow 3. Drones are one weapon that's becoming a major part of modern warfare. Iran used long-range drones to cripple Saudi Arabia's main oil processing facility last September. The IDF's Director of Defense Research and Development, Brigadier General Yaniv Rotem, said, "We are entering a new age of energy warfare in the air, land, and sea. The R&D investments made in the last years have placed the state of Israel among the leading countries in the field of high-energy laser systems." The IDF is developing 3 separate systems to be deployed on the battlefield. A ground-based laser system to complement Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system, a platform-mounted laser system to defend troops in the field, and a laser system mounted in the air to intercept threats from the air and defend large areas on the ground. The IDF says it will test these capabilities throughout 2020. The world can be a thirsty place, and one Israeli company believes it can provide the solution.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
What if you could get clean drinking water from thin air? While it sounds like a magic trick or science fiction, one Israeli company has made it possible. This groundbreaking development could be a solution to the world's water crisis. The company is called Watergen.
We are making water from the air. We think that we found the solution for the entire world for the new source of drinking water.
And yes, it makes water out of air, as CBN News witnessed during a demonstration in Jerusalem. It's vital because the world can be a thirsty place. The UN estimates that more than 1 billion people wake up every day without access to clean water for drinking, cooking, or bathing. PASIC says Watergen is working to solve this problem.
We try to bring this solution to the people as fast as possible. We are selling all across the globe in more than 40 countries. And we try to do it much faster, opening more production lines to bring it much faster to the people. The solution from Israel to the world.
Watergen recently won an award for one of the best home appliances. It patented an inexpensive way to produce from 8 gallons a day for home devices to more than 1,300 gallons a day for industrial-sized machines.
With our revolutionary technology, we are extracting the water from the air with maximum efficiency. It's taking around 250 watts per liter. It's very, very cheap.
There's a number of uses. It can be used in drought areas, in remote areas, or after a natural disaster when clean water is unavailable.
We are sending our devices to emergency situations. We are doing it all the time.
Watergen is also bringing clean water to underdeveloped areas in Asia and Latin America. PASIC says Watergen fulfills the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, healing the world.
We are changing the world, and we feel it daily to daily because we are making also a lot of charity activity. It's our duty to make tikkun olam and to bring from Israel those technology to the world.
That's one example of Israel being a light to the nations, like the prophet Isaiah said it would. If you'd like to know more about Israel, the startup nation, please join me later this year from June 12th to the 20th for an exclusive tour called Israel Through the Eyes of a Reporter. If you'd like to know more, you can go to noseworthytravel.com/Chris Mitchell 2020 or call 1-800-929-4684. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.